Now Norris has gone 7th. It's pushed his teammate Daniel Ricciardo to the fringes of the relegation zone. Gasly 12th fastest. Mick Schumacher had to go again, only 14th fastest as he crosses the line. These are the laps that are all going to count here. Next one over the line, Kevin Magnussen has got that 5-place grid penalty. He's 13th. Alex Albon only 18th. That's poor from Alex Albon. Ricciardo goes out of the bottom 5, but only just. There are those behind him that could still spoil his day just a little bit. Sebastian Vettel we're watching now. Has he managed to get out of the bottom 5? No, only 16th fastest for Sebastian Vettel, and exactly the same time as Mick Schumacher. Lance Stroll then, who gets a 3-place grid penalty, will be starting this race last at the moment because he goes only 18th. Hamilton goes fastest, finds more time on his second run, and we're on board now with Zhou Guanyu, who needs to just get a little bit of a shift on here through the stadium sector to try and put Mick Schumacher out of qualifying and put him and his Alfa Romeo through. His teammate Valtteri Bottas, 4th fastest on his first visit then to Mexico City. Zhou Guanyu does that. He pushes Mick Schumacher into that bottom 5. Haas, for the first time ever, have got one car out of Q1 here in Mexico City. The Williams are the 2 slowest cars in Q1. Sebastian Vettel out-qualifies his teammate Lance Stroll. They're both out. Mick Schumacher 2, Hamilton fastest. Max Verstappen 3rd fastest, only 14 thousandths off Lewis Hamilton. Carlos Sainz now puts his Ferrari 2nd fastest, only 8 1/1000ths off Lewis Hamilton. Going well, Tsunoda and Gasly as they try and get out of the bottom 5. Kevin Magnussen can't do that, only 14th. He'll start 19th on the grid with that 5-place penalty. Zhou Guanyu has missed out on Q3. Thought he'd made it in Austin until he had his lap time deleted. Well, here it hasn't happened for him this weekend either. Now, I mentioned Gasly going well in the first sector, hasn't kept it going for the whole lap, only 14th fastest for Pierre Gasly. Can his teammate Yuki Tsunoda, who's been out-qualified 12 times by Gasly this season, go a little bit better? He can, but he still misses out on the final parts of qualifying. Fernando Alonso, 10th fastest. What of Daniel Ricciardo behind him? No, misses out by a 1/10 of a second. So Daniel Ricciardo can't make it Q3 here, and Charles Leclerc can come into the pits because he is safe. Hamilton, Sainz, Russell and Verstappen separated by 14 thousandths of a second. It's 63 thousandths of a second. Perez to Hamilton. Q3 comes next.
So now in front of his adoring crowd, 50-odd thousand people just in this section alone. He must be able to hear that, but he's got to focus on the apex of these 3 corners and then lunge into the final corner, keep it within bounds, and now all he can do is shift up to the line and see what it'll give him back.
Right, there's the target, 1:18.153 Perez has set for the rest. His teammate Max Verstappen a 10th up on Perez through the first sector. Carlos Sainz can't go any better than the Red Bull, so it's Perez on provisional pole. Hamilton and Russell, couple of 10ths down in Russell's case on Verstappen, 10th down in Hamilton's case. Charles Leclerc goes 3rd fastest, and he lost a lot of time during the first sector on his lap. How are the middle sectors looking? A 30.2 for Max Verstappen, competes with a 30.5 for Valtteri Bottas, a 30.1 for Lewis Hamilton. So Verstappen and Hamilton trading fastest sectors, first and middle. Now George Russell goes quicker through the middle sector. Verstappen onto provisional pole then. First driver into the 117s this weekend. But here now comes Lewis Hamilton and George Russell. Can they get pole? It's only the front row provisionally for Lewis Hamilton. Misses out by just over a 1/10 of a second. George Russell's been on pole once this season, and it's the front row so far for him and the Mercedes. Gets closer, but not by much.
And Lewis Hamilton will lose that lap time as well. Track limits at turn 3.
Carlos Sainz has had a really bad first sector, as you can see on your screen, 28.0. He's about half a second down then. Perez continues on his way. Lovely part of the track, this beautiful flowing section of track. The car at about 120 miles an hour, and he's still very much in the ballpark. Needs to find a 10th.
Yeah, as long as he's not taking too much out of his tyres in the early part of the lap. And the car just a little bit lazy through the left-hander there.
Currently third on the grid, Sergio Perez. Can he push that Red Bull up a little bit further? Here he comes out of the final corner and over the line, and he stays third fastest, Sergio Perez. He didn't have the pace through that final sector. Meanwhile, his teammate Max Verstappen has just gone quicker through the first part of the lap. We're on board with Carlos Sainz, who's put in his best middle sector so far, but he had a wretched start to his lap, and even though he puts in the best final sector, he stays fourth on the grid. Oh, Charles Leclerc trying to get on the power, all wobbly and unstable, the Ferrari car, and only fifth fastest for Charles Leclerc. 9 poles this season, but he's not going to get pole today. Max Verstappen goes faster and puts a bit more distance between himself and George Russell. Russell and Hamilton on the track trying to snatch that pole away.
Hamilton fastest of anybody through the middle sector. Mighty middle sector for Hamilton if his tyres will stay intact.
There goes Max Verstappen, then his 3/10 between himself and George Russell. Russell's gone quickest through the middle part of the lap. The Mercedes trying to come back at the Red Bull here. Hamilton's not been on pole this season. He's not going to be on pole today. It's third on the grid, matches his season best. What about George Russell? 2 front rows, including 1 pole. Has he done it here? No, he stays second. Max Verstappen, for the first time in Mexico City, will take pole position, and it's Russell and Hamilton right behind him.
That's pole position, mate.
Yes, let's go, guys, let's go. Very lovely, that. Good job.
Verstappen and Russell on the front row. As we said, third on the grid has won the last 2 races here. Lewis Hamilton equals his season's best and takes third on the grids, which could be key